Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Jewel. We are in a process series of how to make little golden books into junk journals. And we're going to be working on the Cinderella one. I wanted to show you that I've done riddles and riddles and done the fabric down the spine, and there's some lace on this, and I'm going to talk to you about how I secure these books with craft text and then fabric over the top, so the craft text gives the spine much more durability for me. So I do it a little bit different than how I've seen it done. So the papers I've done and chosen for a lot of these already, and they're already cut down, and I'm going to show you different methods of how to put your papers in. There's more than one. I just choose the way that I do it because I found it works best for me. So I've got the tail of Peter Rabbit, and I have Snow White finished. So let me put these aside. Oh, I finished Tawny, Scrawny, Lion, and a couple more over here, but we'll go through that after. Actually, I'm going to leave one over here. Let me leave the Snow White one so I can refer to this from time to time and show you what I mean. So what we're going to do today is we are going to build the spine for this little golden book. And then we're going to talk about differences of ways to cut down and make hinges for your paper, but there are three different methods that you can put your pages in here. So I'm going to go over three options for you as well. So let's get into how I do the spine. And this is purely personal preference. If you want your books, since I sell my books, if you want your books to make sure they last a while, and I like to use my method with the craft text. So I am going to sit down here, because you know I start all my videos standing up and sometimes I forget to sit. First thing I do is I choose my fabric for what I want on the outside of the spine. So I want to make sure I have double. Yes, this will be more than enough because this is going to wrap around into the front. So then the next thing I want to do is I'm going to cut down the material or tear it into the size I want. So I'm going to line it up on my desk here and make sure it's all lined up. Then I'm going to see how, whoops, you might want to do it you might want to do it the right way. So this is the front and that's the back, and not put it on backwards like I was about to. Okay, so let's see. Now you can see this, I'm going to do the torn edge here. There's not much room here for fabric because the C in Cinderella butts right up to the spine. So I'm not going to be able to have a lot of fabric, but that is why part of the C is going to get covered. There's no way I can really go around that. This is why I count on the craft text on the inside, which is a very heavyweight fabric paper, and it cannot be torn, but it also has great flexibility. Okay, so I do a ton of stuff with this stuff, and I'm choosing the white. It comes in an array of colors, but you can also dye this with any of your inks, and it works beautifully. It holds color very nice. But I'll probably be covering the inside with a little lace or trim, so I'm not going to worry about matching this color up to my fabric or the inside of the book. Okay, so I don't want, this can't go over too far of the C, but it's going to cover a little bit. And I'm going to probably bring it a little bit further out on this side. That's not going to bother me too much if the front and the back don't line up. Actually, I'll probably glue it like that. So I'm going to go ahead and look for my mark. Here it is. Notch that, rip this piece, and then that's how I pretty much know how wide to make my craft text. Now my craft text on the inside is going to probably have to be a little bit wider than this because I want it to be more secure. So probably a little bit there, and this is already cut down this way, but not the width. It's cut in length, but not width. So I'm probably going to want it to really, whoops, I'm trying to show you here. Let me butt these up. I usually keep about 1/8 of an inch, and I'll show you that in a minute. So I think I'll cut my craft text about that. About this wide. And this cuts in a regular paper cutter. I got a new paper cutter for my desk, guys, and this one I can actually use to score. This is a little score button. I keep it on there unless I have super long paper. And I like it. It's not jamming. It's not messing with my papers too much like the last one was, if you've seen any of my videos, because my big one is across the room on another desk. So, okay, so here's my piece of craft text. Now I'll have plenty of fabric left over on this piece to use as fabric flips and stuff. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to secure the inside first. Now this is completely different than most people do it, but I find that it works well for me in stopping the book from shifting. And you can make a little template if you want to make sure. See, I want this perfectly lined up because, like I said, I mean, if it were for me, I wouldn't be so, you know, perfect on it, but I'm going to be popping these into my shop. Then I like to use Fabri-Tac for this as opposed to Eileen's because I think it grabs a little bit better, and I also use it for the fabric. Okay, now I'm just going to, you can either glue the whole piece or glue onto the cover, but I'm going to glue the piece. And so we're going to secure that. And it makes it a little bit, the craft text makes it a tiny bit more difficult to punch your hole for your signatures through, unless you're going to do a hidden or a hollow back spine. But now I want to make sure, well, see, they're shifting. See, that's not fun for me because I really want these to line up good. I'm a little shaky today. I've been working around the house this morning and drinking coffee and a little bit too much. So I'm going to use my brayer for this. And I'm going to wait just a minute for this to just catch. Okay. And be secure before I flip it back over I start on the other side with my fabric. Now this is just personal preference. So that's pretty secure, and you can see there's a space in here. The cardboard's cut maybe a little bit, not perfectly straight, but that's okay. I usually leave about this much at the bottom, unless I'm going to want fringe down here, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to wrap around. So I leave this much right here because that will wrap on the inside, and then this will go over that, and you'll see that in a minute. So what I do here is I take a good look at where my placement of my fabric is, and then I kind of just put the fabric tack right to the spine, or the cover, and then the spine. And a good amount here at the top, and plenty down here, and then I just go up here. And now because I have the fabric tack, I don't really, or the craft tacks, I don't really need to come in to these where it hinges with glue. Now I'm going this way just because it might help where I'm putting my needle through the cover. Another reason why I don't do the other type spines on this is because I'm going to put buttons on it, and I just like the look of having the buttons on the spine. So I like for my stitching to show on this, spine, my pamphlet stitch. I'm just doing a pamphlet stitch in all these, making it easy. Okay, now that's pretty secure there, and I kind of just really, again, you can either use a bone folder or a trowel, like one of these, just to spread your glue out nice and smooth, or a brayer, whatever you have. Okay, now you'll see, let's get rid of these strings because we don't really want those. Now I will have to cut this down at the bottom. Let me get rid of that string. All right, now I will go ahead, and I'm just going to, whoops, wrong glue, and glue down this fabric. So I kind of can just eyeball that. And I will be putting some trim because the inside of this cover is so spotlessly clean. I don't want to cover this with any kind of paper. I want just this to show the original. Alrighty. And kind of pull that taut. There we go. Actually, I want to put this up right here at the bottom. Just want to secure that right over, and that will go underneath this piece. Then let me just notch that and see if I can rip this. Probably should have done it first. I'm going to just cut through this. Just going to cut the fabric here. And you really won't see this with your papers in, so let me see. Nope, I got to cut a little bit more. It's still a little bit too long. Okay, now let me get the rest of my glue. Secure this down. And we need a little here. And I'm not too concerned because I am going to add some lace here. So let me use my little trowel here to... Okay, now I usually let that sit just a little bit before I work it because you want to work your sides a little bit where you have adhered that craft text. So I'm just working right into there, and you can do this because see it's a little stiff, but that's okay. It will work itself out. Usually I like to let it dry just a little bit before I do that, but still have it be slightly tacky so the fabric can shift, sit into place for the book cover when it's bent. Now this needs a little bit more glue here, right here. So let's do that. Okay. I usually leave a baby wipe out when I'm doing this because I usually end up with seepage, glue seepage. So, and I will put a very small piece of trim of some sort right down here. And that'll just, I don't want to really cover too much of my mice here or too much of the sea. Now the back cover, I did leave, it's a little bit, you know, the fabric comes in a little bit more, which is fine. So we need a little bit more glue here, so just check. It's better to come back than really have too much glue. You just want to make sure it's on your spine really good. Okay. That looks good. Let me work it a little bit more. And a little bit more. And then when it dries, I will do a little bit more. So there's that. Okay, so that's the cover. And of course, there's a little rip here, so let's go ahead and repair that. Now I will be putting book corners on these because they're quite, the corners are fragile with these super old books, and it just gives, it's a nice look, but at the same time it's so your book will be in this position, you know, once you. So let's move the book cover aside. Let's get into the papers. Let me put my glue in the way that I do my papers. I'm going to get a book here that I have not, this is our flag. All I've done is pick some other papers I want to put in here and just tuck them in there so they stay right in the, right between the covers. And those are from other old, like this is our flag, so I picked out Battle Hymn of the Republic, the Star Spangled Banner, a music paper, and that's out of a super old, I mean early 1920s music book that I bought. And then these are out of a early 1900s magazine that I have. This is some articles for Country and for Liberty. So I have that. And then these are old book pages of that relate to famous men and women that relate to our country. So for the United States. So now the book pages, when you take them out, and if you go 2 times ago to see where we cut down the books, excuse me for a minute, I'm going to take a sip of water. Okay, and they come out when you cut your spine or rip your book apart, and you can see that in part 1 of the series. These pages come out like this, and there are 2 signatures. Here's 1 and here's 2, and they're stapled together. So you remove the staples, and then you're left with this. And then this is where I come in and number the pages. So actually, that's page 0. That's how I do it. And here's page 1, and then 2. I mean, oh crap! I meant to do that in pencil. I had my wrong. Well, that I'm gonna put something up there now. So here's my pencil. So here's 3, and then I can come back later and erase those. 4, So you get the gist. 5. Let me put the 6 down here where I can see it, and so on and so forth. But you'll see that these pages are going to be too big for this cover. So you have several options here. Okay, the first and the easiest way is just to fold back your pages, right? And I'm not going to do it because I'm going to cut these down. Fold them on the edge here. The second way you can do it is by trimming your pages down to fit the cover. And I usually take a little more off the back than the front. And I usually take a tiny bit off the top, just a smidgen, okay? And so what do you do then? How do you secure them? Because you can see here they could be sewn right into a signature, so you can just add your papers in between and just fold back the ends. But I don't like to do that, so I cut them down and then I hinge them. I make a little hinge for them, and I will show you, let me show you one of my other books, because this one's not finished. Here's a tale of Peter Rabbit, okay, and this I'm going to put in there so it's there for Easter. Okay, so you have, well, I put one here, not on the inside, but what I did is I simply went and hinged it to another old book page, okay, and you can hinge it to another old book page like that, and we're going to do one of these hinges today so you can see. And these are just, you can use your decorative offcuts, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with either washi or decorative. So these are just scraps. And come back on the inside and probably do some decorative cardstock right here to make the papers even more durable. This is perfectly fine, but this is just this is parchment, and this is just regular copy paper here. So there's that. You can do it that way, and then you put your papers inside, okay? Then, and we'll talk about my placement of cardstock in here in a minute and how we do that. Or you can take your paper and, let me see if I have any in here where most of these are secured to other old book pages from another children's book from the Pretty Vintage. That's the Tale of Peter Rabbit. Or you can simply hinge them to any other paper. You can use, well, let me put this aside. You can use a piece of cardstock. You can use, you know, some pattern paper like this and just secure it to the other side. So let me see what I have in this one. Let me move this stuff aside. Trying to keep my work desk clean here. There's my Cinderella cover. Now, another thing you can do is with the Cinderella, there's page 1, then I just hinged it to this page. And, you know, so I'm going to have a second little signature here. So to not complicate things, my suggestion would be to just do what I did here, where make sure that's why you put your numbers, keep your numbers, because I have to have the numbers. So hinge them like that, and then your papers will go on the inside. So here's the first signature, and then here's the second signature. So like this first paper, there is another, that's the last page. Actually, last page is here, so I had to make sure that was in the back. So you just have to make sure, this is the second signature. I started with the 8th page, and then you put your papers in between. So let's see what, there is one in here that I have not, here we go. Okay, we're going to do this one together so you can see this, and then we're going to go over putting your papers in here. So what I do is I basically choose my two papers that I want to hinge together. So make sure, you know, this is 11, so this has to go this way because the other side would be 12. Stack them together. You may have to cut down, you know, your paper to size. It doesn't matter that they're not the same size because this is going to be on the other side of the book, so it's not a big deal. Then take your glue on your little hinge. So you just take your piece of paper and you're basically just cutting it down and folding it over. And I think this is about 3/4 of an inch, maybe a little less on each side. It doesn't have to be exact. So we're just going to glue this. And again, this is just my method because I don't particularly want the folded pages at the end. So now I have the glue on there. Make sure you have your papers right. So this is the front of that one, 71 and 72. And that's actually the Cinderella in another book. So then I just simply come in, attach my papers to the hinge, or attach my hinge to the papers. So there you have it. Okay, so then make sure you check your inside that your glue has not seeped out, where then you put your pages in and then they're stuck together. So that's important. Make sure your glue is not going to seep into this. If it does, check it. Just take a little baby wipe and just a little bit and just wipe that glue off. Okay, so then that's back into my signature, and now we're in the middle of the signature, and this is where I put a pocket. So we're going to do some different things with these pockets. So this is the second signature. All right, so let's go back to the first signature and see what we have. What I did is I chose for all of my books a cover to the signature. You don't have to do that. You can start just like this, but I like to make use of this, and you have some pretty decorative papers, okay? And I chose this because I thought it went nicely to the cover and also to my page. So I choose to do that, and we're going to make these into pockets. Let me stay in frame here. And there are several ways you can do that. You can do punches. You can put just a circle, half circle punch here. Trim this out with lace and leave it flat. But what I did is I went up 4 inches. So I fold it up 4 inches, or score it and fold it. And then I cut down the paper to the size of my pages, to my book, so it would fit in my book nicely. And all these pages sit really nice inside this little front cover. So we'll probably do a little corner punch on these. I know we will, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do a corner punch because I like that. Now I could come in and do the circle punch, because what I'll do is I'll take this to the machine after and I will sew around the whole thing. Okay, now I haven't inked anything yet, and I haven't decided if I will, but I probably will come in and either distress this or just put a little coffee stain on it. I'll do probably a little vintage photo, or I might do hold on, I haven't gotten that far because I'm doing these in a, I like to just I like tea dye or antique linen or old paper as well. It just depends on what paper is sitting next to it. I like it to blend nicely. So I'll do a little inking over on the side. Let me get a piece of paper. Here's a hinge. And then I can just try these and see which color I think I'm going to want to do. And you can just do vintage photo if that's what you have. See, that's nice, but let's put it on a white sheet so I can, let me see if I have a white scrap. Hold on. Hold on. All right. There we go. Because that's white. So it's going to look a little different. Okay, here's the tea dye. See, look at, that's a good match right there. I don't have to go any further. The old paper is a little bit more yellowy. So I think we're going to use the tea dye. So I will come in and do the tea dye all over this. So I really don't want to do it on my desk. See, so I'm going to get that, and then I'll probably come back and do a little vintage photo. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Around the edges. See? Just to darken it up. Either that or I might come in with some walnut stain. Or if I don't want it that dark, you know, use what you have. And you don't have to, you can skip the inking. I do it because these are all going to be a vintage look. Brushed corduroy and gathered twigs work well. So I just have these small ones of most of these. So that's what we're going to do. And let's move on. So that's the cover. So I chose that one for the first signature and then this one for the second signature. And I am going to come in and probably just bring down the white some. Again, I'm going to do the corners. Now, on the inside signature, I do another piece of cardstock, or this isn't quite, it's like a cross between a paper and a cardstock. So, but I match it, I try to match it up to the paper that is sitting next to it. So I felt like this lent nicely to that. So that's in the middle, so we'll have another pocket in the middle, and I'll do the pocket the same way as the front pocket. Then we will come in and start adding our items. So as we flip through this, you can see there's a glassine bag. These are just the papers I've chosen. And then we have a little middle signature here. It's not really a middle, it's just a second middle signature because of the way I laid my papers. So I may put another decorative cardstock in here and do another pocket. Okay, so glassine bag, then that, and then this I ended up having to hinge to that. So we've got some music paper, we've got all the papers in the place, in the way they go, you know, in the order. So that's pretty much it. And I'm going to come back later. I'm going to do a couple more of my books, and we're going to move on to adding stuff to our pages, and how much do we want and how little do we want, and we'll do that. And I'm going to sew around these pockets. I did 4-inch up, and you can do less. You can just do a small little pocket, whatever you want, or you don't have to do that at all. I'll do the embellishments, and we'll do the sewing. We'll do the embellishments together. I'll sew off screen around my pockets, and then we will sew the pages into the spine. Actually, we may sew into the spine before I do too much embellishing. I just want to make sure I have all the papers I want in here. I'm going to go through and count. I try to keep the signatures pretty even in size, so let me see, I have, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll count that, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, this is vellum, 11, printed vellum, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 total, but you know, it's just because of the way I attach the papers. So let's count this one. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32. There's more in this side, but really, in essence, I'm not gonna, when I put my book page numbers in my description box, when I am selling these or explaining them, I don't count the bags, I don't count the doilies, and things like that. The extras I don't count. So I could put a few more in here, and this front, and I think I might, but I want to make sure I have enough room for all of my tags. So probably what we'll do is I'll sew around the papers that I want to sew around. Let me close this, and then we will prepare some. Look what I got last night. Prepare some tags and books. Chick-fil-A puts their silverware in here. I wasn't feeling up to going out for Valentine's Day. My husband has a cold himself, so we just weren't. Plus our anniversary is this Sunday, so we will probably, it's more affordable to go to dinner once than twice. So it's just always 3 days after Valentine's. But I love this. So these will go in a journal. Aren't they great? So we save everything. But sorry about that. I wanted to show you. I have